Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me for chapter two, management theory. This chapter is offering you a perspective on how the different management theories have evolved and shaped what management is today. So we're going to start with um, the original theories. So things to be able so you can understand how we reached the present and then what was the sources of many of the concepts that we are studying today. So as you can see here, there are different perspectives. There is the historical perspective, and that started around 1911. And you can see there are three major ones: the classic viewpoints, the behavior viewpoint, and the quantitative viewpoints. And then we have the contemporary perspectives, and those are from the 1960s until present. And then once you break down the historical perspective, you can see that there are three viewpoints under those that are from 1911 to 1950s. So we have the classical viewpoints, and that's where scientific management and administrative management came. And then we have the behavioral viewpoints from 1913 to 1950s, and that's where the early behaviorists, came up with their ideas. Human relationships movements started then, and in the behavioral science approach. And then we have the quantitative viewpoints from the 1940s to 1950s. And then we had, under that, we had the management science and the operations management. So as you can see, these were the three viewpoints from the historical perspective. This chapter gives you a lot of details about each one of these viewpoints. You get a chance to read about each one of them. I'm giving you an overview. So those were from 1911 to the 1950s, and you're going to be able to read each one of them in detail. The second part of these ones are the contemporary perspective, and those are from 1960s to the present. And that gives you the systems viewpoint, the contingency viewpoint, and the quality management viewpoints. And I'll spend some time going through these. So in a systems viewpoint, it is looking at the system as a four parts of a system. That typically there is an input, and the input is typically either labor, people, money, which is capital, information, equipment, any type of materials that would help the organization produce goods and services. And you have the example here of a jewelry designer. So they put in the design, the money, the gold, the silver, the tools necessary to make jewelry. After you put in the inputs, there is what we call the transformational processes. So how do you transform those inputs? So you need different skills for that. You need planning, organizing, leading, controlling skills. So you can move the input to an output, which is the third part of the system, right? And now we have your products and services. And then the last part of the system is the information or the reaction of the environment to the output. Either they're gonna love your jewelry, like in this example, or maybe people will dislike it. So in either way, you know what I mean, you're gonna get feedback about the production that you have completed. There are closed versus open systems. There are organizations that have little interaction with their environment versus organizations that are really open to the organization, to the environment, the outside world. And then, there is the complexity theory, and this one recognizes that all complex systems are networks of many interdependent parts that interact with each other according to certain simple rules. One thing that this corona pandemic has probably shown to the world is how most organizations have open systems. If you've been to any store, and I've been to like Walmart and Target, and even furniture stores, or if you've been to Home Depot, you probably noticed that there are a lot of products that are not available on the shelves. And the reason being is that many of these organizations need certain inputs to create their output. And they're so open, they rely on other countries, whether it is China or other parts of Asia or Africa, but they are relying on partners or organizations from outside the country to get those resources so they can produce their goods and services. And the fact that they're not able to get those just shows how vulnerable these systems that are open. The contingency viewpoint emphasizes that a manager's approach should be according to the individual and environmental situation. So basically, a contingency viewpoint says that a manager should look at a situation case by case. It should not be a general rule or policy, but it should be case by case basis. And then the evidence-based management, it is basically saying that there is a best evidence or best practice that organizations and managers should follow. And that the fact that you're following evidence brings rationality. So you are making logical decisions based on evidence that was proven. And of course, for that they're following the scientific methods where you make a solution or you make a recommendation for a solution based on facts, not based on any subjective emotions. And in quality management proof points, this is a management view that really focuses on quality, the ability of a product or service to meet customer needs, making sure that you have quality control, so you are minimizing the errors by managing each stage of production, and you focus on the performance of workers, urging employees to strive for zero defects. And if you remember the case that happened with the Samsung tablets that was getting on fire, that's an example where there was the quality control missed a very important step in checking the stage of production. If we even look at a more serious example, the Boeing, those two airplanes that crashed, they crashed in the middle of the sea, ocean, killing hundreds of people. And after a very long investigation, it was found that there was an issue in production. Whatever software system that was able to overrule the pilots was crashing those airplanes. And you can see that quality control is extremely important, especially in industries where people's lives are in danger. So total quality management, TQM, is a comprehensive approach dedicated to continuous quality improvement, training, and customer satisfaction. So you create a product, you make sure it's good quality, but you continuously improve it. You probably, we started with the iPhone 1, we are now at iPhone 11, I believe. I don't know if we have any higher number than that. But every time that there is a newer iPhone, they are trying to improve it. Maybe they're improving the camera or the storage or the size, whatever it is, but they're trying to make it, to improve it. Making sure that that you involve employees. Employees can come up with really good ideas and suggestions. So you have to listen to customers, you have to listen to employees, and you have to make sure that you identify and eliminate any problems. Every time that a new iPhone comes out, or generally speaking, any product comes out, there are some issues that get identified later on after the product is released to customers. So making sure that once you identify them, you're eliminating them. I had a car with a Honda, and many times I received calls saying that there is a recall. Whether there's a recall because there's an issue with the engine or issue with the airbags or issue with the brakes. But many times companies who will produce cars, they will issue recalls after they identify problems, and they try to eliminate those problems by issuing those recalls. Six Sigma and ISO 9000. So so these are series of steps. There are series of steps that are called define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. So this is a process, okay, to improve the quality of the product. And in the design for Six Sigma, these are managers who can employ to create new products or processes. And what they do is they focus on problem solving and process improvements, okay? So you wanna make sure that you produce a product that has the highest quality. And to do that, if in case there's any problem that is raised, how do you solve that problem to make sure that the process is continuously improved? The learning organization, these are organizations that actively creates, acquire, and transfer knowledge within itself, and is able to modify the behavior to reflect new knowledge. In today's world, with everything going on, with the advances of technology, with the corona pandemic, most organizations have to be learning organization. For example, you're looking at Bunker Hill Community College as a community college that prior to the pandemic did not use online teaching as much as it is using it right now. But now 85% of our classes are taught remotely. which means we had to change. Not just us, not just Bunker Hill, most colleges and universities. I mean, Harvard is teaching 100% online. That means that they had to learn, they had to create, acquire, and transfer knowledge between faculty, their students, their departments, to make sure that they can adapt to the new environment. So, how to build a learning organization? So, managers need to perform three different functions. You need to build a commitment to learning. So, people need to be willing to learn. You need to be able to generate ideas with impact and work to generalize ideas with impact. So, we'll talk more about that. So, when we talk about building the commitment to learning, you need to hire the right people or employees who are willing to learn, and you need to inspire them to do that. If you, for example, let's take an example of a faculty member who has taught for 30 years in the classroom. This change where this faculty member now has to use technology and teach remotely and use WebEx and Moodle, possibly either Pearson or Connect, but that's a big change. So it is the job of the manager to make sure that they are, inspiring those faculty members to commit to learning the new online system, to be able to work to generate ideas with impacts. Listen, there are a lot of expertise, a lot of people who have expertise who are able to generate those ideas. And once those ideas are identified as best practices, then you need to spread the knowledge, to share those best practices with the rest of the organization. All right, so this concludes this chapter, this quick overview of this chapter. Remember to check the career corner at the end of each chapter to improve your career outlook and your career skills. Thank you for joining me today. And hopefully next week, which is chapter 3, we will meet. I will be back from our medical leave and we'll be able to meet in person via WebEx. All right, have a great day, everyone. Thank you.